If you are seeing the sigil, it's the number 31, which represents limits. This sigil is sent to you to let you know that you are not seeing your limits or someone else's limits. Most of us don't want to face our own limits because they make us feel restricted and bad about ourselves. We don't want to face other people's limits because what accepting those limits would mean for us or for them. We have a very negative association with limits, but if we cannot admit to our limits, we will make decisions that are determined either to us or the other person or both. To a certain degree, everyone wrestles with what is. We have an intolerance for things the way they are, and so we want to change them because we can't tolerate them. This tendency is a beautiful thing because it makes our lives and our world improve. If we tolerated the fact that we would not fly, we would never would have invented the plane. However, some of us don't simply wrestle with what is. We are warriors. We fight what is, as if our survival depends on it. Our unwillingness to accept what is a great source of suffering, especially when we can't change certain things about it. In fact, it prevents us from getting what we need and want. In a universe based on the law of mirroring, otherwise known as the law of attraction, whatever we resist, persists. Whatever we resist, persists. Because in resisting something, we are actually focusing directly upon it. And the primary form that resistance takes is the unwillingness to accept what is as reality. Simply, our fight with reality is much easier said than done, especially if we are in a situation where nothing we do in that current moment will change something into what we want. If you are really struggling to accept what is because you are judging and not acceptable to it, challenge yourself to finding approval for what is. Find approval for the limitation. Finding approval for the limit will change your perspective so you can see new doors and windows to what you want. They may have been open all along, but you were too busy banging on the permanently closed door. Our limits are really about our boundaries. What's a boundary, you say? Hey, a boundary is the imaginary line that uniquely defines your personal happiness, your personal feelings, your personal thoughts, your personal integrity, your personal desires, your personal needs, and therefore, most importantly, your personal truth for the rest of the universe. Part of this is your personal limits. If you do not listen to and respect what you feel, you violate your own boundaries. If you do not listen to and respect what others feel, you violate other people's boundaries. It is as simple as that. To fail to acknowledge a boundary is to refuse to accept the reality of something. For example, crazy example, but it's visual. A jellyfish has a limit in that it cannot be out of water for no more than 48 minutes. If a jellyfish does not respect that limit, okay, or if we as observers do not respect that limit, it will die. Another example is that if someone has had a childhood trauma around being abandoned, they will most likely have a limit in that they cannot be in a partnership with someone who is unavailable, right? So you might have seen it on a show, or you know somebody personal in your life, or you might be this person, or in a relationship with this person where you can't go nowhere without that person wanting to know your every step, your every move, your every breath, your every this, your every that. And they want you to be available to them. It's that feeling of you need to be available at their every beck and call. And if not, there's a problem. or that stems from some kind of trauma from abandonment. So if we ignore limits, not only can we not thrive in the long term, we also are not capitalizing on our actual potential. People are different, They're not going to have the same boundaries as you or I. And therefore, they're going to have, different limits. They're not going to be the same as yours. And people who work with their limits instead of against them end up actually far more successful in the long run. They're not constantly trying to be what they are not, right? When you're constantly trying to be what you are not, you go further and further away from who you actually are, okay? And then it's going to take you time to even get back to knowing who you are. So you just wasted a lot of time and energy. So it is a virtue to think outside the box to the degree that you can consider that anything is possible. And this is a perfect time actually to do this, since we are amongst seasons where it's kind of time to bunker in, So, however, if this is what we expect of ourselves, it amounts to cruelty and denial. If you have drawn this sigil, admit to and accept your limits and or the limits of other people around you. You will be blown away at how fast situation, remedies, and solutions come to you out of the blue when you release the resistance you are holding against what is so. Have a wonderful day and night. And this is your shadow work number 31 sigil. People who work with their limits instead of against them end up far more successful in the long run.